In 1924, two wealthy teens from Chicago, Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb, set out to commit the perfect crime. They didn't kill for money. They killed for the thrill. What followed was a murder that shocked the nation, and a trial that changed American law forever.
In 1920s Chicago, two wealthy teens stood out, not just for their brains, but for their bond. Nathan Leopold was a prodigy. He spoke multiple languages, studied law at 18, and was obsessed with birds. Richard Loeb was confident and charming. He graduated college at 17 and came from one of the richest families in the city. Together, they formed a dangerous duo. They weren't interested in typical teen rebellion. They wanted to commit the perfect crime. One so clever, so shocking, it would prove they were smarter than everyone else.
Nathan Leopold was obsessed with the ideas of philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. He believed in a Superman, someone so intelligent they didn't have to follow normal rules, and he thought he was one of them. He shared this belief with his close friend Richard Loeb. Together, they convinced themselves they were above the law. For 7 months, they planned the ultimate crime. They wanted to kidnap someone, ask for ransom, kill the victim, and walk away unnoticed. Their target? Bobby Franks, Richard's 14-year-old cousin and neighbor. Their goal wasn't money. It was to prove they were smarter than everyone else and could get away with murder.
On May 21st, 1924, Leopold and Loeb picked up Bobby Franks after school. He had no reason to be suspicious. He trusted them. They drove to a quiet area on the outskirts of Chicago. That's where Bobby was attacked, struck repeatedly with a chisel. To this day, no one knows which of them dealt the fatal blow. Later that night, they dumped Bobby's body near Wolf Lake. They poured acid on his face and hands to make him unrecognizable. Then, as if nothing had happened, they sent a ransom note to his parents, even though Bobby was already dead.
The boys told police they had spent the evening driving around with two girls, but that story quickly fell apart. Leopold's chauffeur told investigators the car hadn't been used that night. It was in the garage for repairs, just as the murder happened. Then came the breakthrough. A pair of eyeglasses found near Bobby's body. They had a very rare type of hinge. So rare, only a few people in Chicago had them, and one of them was Nathan Leopold. When questioned separately, both boys eventually confessed. They admitted they killed Bobby not for revenge, not for money, but just for the thrill of it.
The case stunned the country. Two wealthy, brilliant teenagers had murdered a child for no reason. Their families hired one of the most famous lawyers in America, Clarence Darrow. Darrow didn't claim the boys were innocent. Instead, he had them plead guilty to avoid a jury trial and the death penalty. Over several weeks, more than 100 witnesses were called. Experts argued that Leopold and Loeb were mentally unstable. In a closing argument that lasted over 12 hours, Darrow begged the judge to spare their lives. He called it the hardest case of his life.
On September 10, 1924, the judge gave his final decision. Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb were sentenced to life in prison for murder, plus 99 years for kidnapping. They had avoided the death penalty, but they would spend the rest of their lives behind bars. In prison, the two young men taught classes and tried to help other inmates. But on January 28, 1936, Loeb was attacked by a fellow prisoner in the shower. He died from his injuries. Leopold continued serving time. He studied, tutored, and even volunteered for a medical experiment involving malaria. After 33 years in prison, he was granted parole in 1958. After his release, Leopold moved to Puerto Rico. He worked in a hospital, got married, and continued studying birds, his lifelong passion. He even wrote a best-selling autobiography called Life Plus 99 Years. In his later years, he tried to help troubled youth, perhaps trying to make peace with the past. Nathan Leopold died in 1971. Richard Loeb had died 35 years earlier. The story of Leopold and Loeb haunted America. It inspired books, plays, and films, including Compulsion and Rope. More importantly, it sparked national conversations about the death penalty, mental illness, and whether people are born evil or shaped by their environment. Clarence Darrow's powerful argument against capital punishment is still remembered today. Leopold and Loeb weren't gangsters or career criminals. They were two young men who believed they were untouchable. Their story reminds us that intelligence without empathy can be dangerous, and that even those who seem to have it all can lose everything in a moment of arrogance. Thank you for watching. Until next time, remember, sometimes the truth is more terrifying than fiction.